Hello everyone, welcome to Scorcher Toys at Anymoon.com's transformation guide for Yamato's 160 scale VF-4G toy. Transformation of this toy is actually pretty easy, which is pretty impressive considering how well hidden the transformation mechanisms are. To begin, flip your toy over and open up these panels which reveal the upper legs, the thighs of the toy. Now you're going to unclip the lower section of the leg by just putting a little pressure outward. Alright, so at that point, you've now got the pressure along the edges of the plane. So you're going to release that pressure by pulling the leg downward just a little bit. There is a peg, well, it's not really a peg, the hinge acts as a peg for the wing. So once you've got that done, you can kind of rotate the leg out. Now there's obviously a very limber knee joint there that lets you flip and fold. So you just bring the leg out, away from the body, and you'll get it like so. And then you can rotate the whole leg outward. Now I just had one of the missiles pop off. That is going to be a very common thing. And when the missiles do pop off, make sure you don't just put it right back on. Put it aside and address it after transformation. In fact, Yamato would tell you to take all the missiles off, transform the toy, and then put them back on in the next mode. Once you've pulled the legs away from the body, it's time to free up the knees. Now, if you're using the intake covers, now would be when you reach in and slide those upward, and thus remove them, revealing the turbine. Then you pull the turbine forward, and you have made the room necessary for the knees. With room for the knees now available, you need to extend the legs. Now the joint on the legs is pretty complex, but essentially you're going to push the leg back while pointing it outward like so. So again, push the leg back and applying pressure upward, and you'll get the legs nice and extended like so. Alright, now we finish the legs by pulling up on these trapdoors in the back that cover up the inner leg detail or frame, and then we pull the feet outward like so, and then you open the feet up just like you would any other transforming fighter toy. On this next step, you're just going to pop up on this front of the, I don't know what you would call that, and free the upper part of the arm, and then you're going to pull it forward like so. Just pop up and pull forward. As you can see here, by pulling forward, you've exposed an elbow joint. So you can now fold the front of this booster, whatever you want to call it, downward, which in turn is freeing up your shoulder covers. Alright, with the arms now freed, you can just pull them away from the front. There goes another missile. And rotate them around. So pull it away from the front of the toy and rotate it around. Alright, as you can see here, the shoulder is pretty well tucked inside what was this wing section for the jet. So you can actually pull it downward just a little bit. So again, the shoulder is tucked up inside. You just bring it down a little bit. Alright, the next step is going to be to free up the hands. So all you do is put a fingernail in the front and push in towards the back. There goes another missile. And you have freed up the forearm from the housing. Once that's done, you can open the trap door, which is pretty standard fare for transformable fighter toys. Flip the hand out. Now this is another one of the things that kind of irks me about this toy. The housing doesn't really lock into place. What it relies on is that forearm being out already with that fist out. Once that happens, it can't get past the fist anymore, so that's what locks it in place. This makes it a little frustrating flipping out the hand in the first place. And then once you have the hand out, if you're articulating the toy, if you apply enough pressure to the housing, the hand kind of gets squished and doesn't look quite right. So there you go. Now you might notice the hands are little miniature hands. You do have the articulated hands you could swap them out with at this point. That's just plug and play. Alright, as you can see, we're pretty close to being finished on this toy. You now need to fold down these shoulder covers. It's just a hinge. Get a fingernail in behind there, bring it forward. And there are flaps below the boosters on the back that come down. And then you would reattach all your conformal missiles that popped off during transformation. Alright, after you've reapplied the conformal missiles, you can also bring down this outer guard from the first step of transformation outside of the thighs to kind of get them right where they're supposed to be. I've retracted the legs up a little bit. I think it makes the longer legs of this toy look a little better in gear walk mode. And that is it. So we've gone to gear walk mode. Let's keep going to Batroid. Transformation to Batroid begins with the legs. And you're going to straighten them out. You're going to make sure they're collapsed all the way inward. And you're going to open back up these side covers, because you're going to need some elbow room as you get to Batroid mode. Alright, now we're going to focus on the nose cone of the plane. Begin by removing these conformal missiles. You don't absolutely have to do it now, but they're just going to pop off if you don't, and you do have to remove them later anyways. Alright, begin by lowering this fin down. It's on a trapdoor that swings. Pulling the nose cone out is the next step. It's on a hinge with a rotation point in the front of that hinge. So as you bring it back, you rotate the nose so it is now further back, pointing downward. This next step is tricky. A lot of people get frustrated with it and worry that they're going to break their toys. The trick to it is not putting your fingers underneath the nose cone right here. You have to push the cockpit down, but it's on a wide piece underneath. So put your hands on either side. See, my finger is way back here by this metal pin, and push down, and you will lower that section. You can then bring this fin forward. As you can see, there's a slot in the nose cone for the fin. There's also a peg hole. We'll get to that later. So with everything in place, bring this forward, and you can lock everything together like so. Alright, now bring your canards downward. They pull away from the body as you push them down. Coming back underneath the toy, if these ever get in your way, they're removable, so feel free just to pop them out. But right at this point, you're going to lift at either side of the hips, and you're going to free this whole central section. So lifting away, you can see that the section is coming away from the body. There goes a conformal missile. Now there's also a little clip in the back that you're also going to have to get out. So just pull away. You'll see things kind of separating on their own. Wiggle jiggle. And there goes that metal peg as well. So you've now separated the toy into two halves. The fighter section up top, and sort of the body of what will be Batroid below. Alright, so from here, you're going to rotate the back of the plane downward and bring in these covers here and get the toy so it's standing with this slot facing forward. And at that point, you're going to pull the body, the fighter mode, the upper part away from the body, and you're going to fold this down like so. Now that slot is going to receive this fin, and then you're going to pull out this peg, which is going to go into that peg hole. Now this is probably the hardest part of Batroid transformation. It's not incredibly difficult, but you need to get everything to come together just right. And that peg it comes out in such a way that it'll just push back down inward if you don't get everything lined up just the way it needs to be. And it is a very tight fit when you do. So there you go. So now you have the legs where they need to be and the midsection of the torso all put together. Alright, now it's time to get some head. Begin by opening this trap door here. There's a housing underneath. You're going to push up on this. Now the chin on the head is a little sensitive, so if you ever hit any resistance, just stop, slow down, use less pressure. It shouldn't get stuck. So here I am just pushing my finger up on that housing and pulling back away from the front of the toy. Once you get this out, you can use that hinge to swivel that downward. Bring that out. Bring the whole section back. And then bring that trapdoor down again. Alright, you're almost ready to fold everything together, but first you need to reapply those conformal missiles we removed earlier in transformation. This is your last chance to get them in before this section is going to become inaccessible again. Alright, now you're ready to bring everything together. So before you do that, these back flaps, bring them flat. Push them in. Make sure that they are perfectly sealed up against the body. And then note there's a peg in the back of this metal hinge and a slot for that to go into. There's also slots here, or slot here, that goes back into the back of this nose cone section, as well as little clips along the edge that clip into the sides of the nose cone. So lots of mechanisms that once you fold this over, like so, are going to lock everything together. And it fits with one nice click there. Very nice and easy. So as you can see, this toy is already a bit of a beast. But you just have a little bit of fine tuning left to do. You can bring down, just by pressing down, the front of fighter mode, like so. And then, similarly in the rear, you can pull out and then bring down these flaps here. Then you have the adjustable kind of vent booster type things in the back that you should open up a little bit. Give it a little bit better look. And now all you have to do is a little fine tuning and you are in Batroid mode. Alright, so the only fine tuning I really have to do here is get these shoulder covers in the right spot. Just from transformation they've gotten out of whack. Get the wings into the right spot. And I've attached a conformal missile that had popped off during transformation. But there you have it. Your toy is now in Batroid mode. Visit anymoon.com for my full review of this toy, and check out on YouTube my video review. Thanks for watching.